I know they call it running away money, but we should stop calling it that.
I kind of like it.
Do we love that? Yeah, maybe we do. I don't know. Now I'm like, I'd love a full-time TV job. I love TV. Some months I will get paid €1,500. It's probably more than that. Some months it might be, honestly, €900. That's the real big bang moment of, oh yeah, this is when these are going to catapult. The tea's not worth it.
Fionnuala Jones, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for bringing all the vintage fashion.
All the vintage fashion. I didn't even mean to, but then when you asked off air, and I said, oh, this is what a happy coincidence. So my top is from a CC Vintage. So she's down the back of the market on Meath Street. Yeah. Owner Niamh is incredible. Italian heritage, really into fashion. You'll go in, she'll dress you up in 800 things. It's like free, like style consultancy, counselling, shopping all in one. Fantastic. And then the jeans, these are Wrangler, but they're from Agite Vintage. Monica runs that in the chocolate factory, but they're online as well. So
nice.
Yeah, kid it out.
So what would you say that whole outfit cost?
What would I say this whole outfit cost? Now, the issue is I bought these in like a haul of a couple of things. So I'm trying to figure it out. I think the jeans might have been €30.
Nice.
They're like, every time I wear them, everyone's like, the jeans. I'm like, I know. I can't really remember how much the top was initially because I lost the run of myself and I see it was the first time I went in there. And it's actually Roberto Cavalli. I'm not really like a big label girly, but then you kind of get a label bit and you're like, yeah, it's Roberto Cavalli. But yeah, I think, I won't hazard a guess. The jeans were definitely 30 quid, which I think is, I'm willing to pay for a decent pair of jeans.
That's great value, no matter like by anyone's reckoning.
Yeah. Jeans haunt women, you know what I mean? So I'll spend €30 on a pair of jeans that don't haunt me, you know?
Yes. And the top Roberto Cavalli, like the price is just going upwards now since it's a Bella Hadid effect, isn't it?
Yeah,
truly. And then his death as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to be so to be so Machiavellian, but like, you know, it does when a designer dies.
Collector's item nearly. Yeah. But like leopard print should always be a neutral. You know, that kind of thing. Like trends come and go, guys. But if you love the leopard print, you love it forever. So I think anyway.
Yeah. Tell me what percentage of your wardrobe would be vintage or thrifted?
Now, I would say probably 90%, but that's been like a kind of a slow process. So for anyone who like doesn't know me or doesn't know why I'm so into this, I gave up fast fashion. Fast fashion is fashion that's easily accessible, what we generally get on the high street, fashion that's produced at a very quick rate, responding to trends, right? I gave that up for a year just for an experiment in 2019. I was able to do it, loved it, kind of fell off the wagon a bit in 2021, but essentially started again. So I've been, however long is that? I'm not going to do maths. I don't know why I make myself do maths on the spot because it never turns out well. Roughly 4 years, we'll say, right? Yeah. I was always into vintage and secondhand fashion, but I was also growing like really disillusioned with fast fashion and like buying things really cheaply and the stuff coming and being like, I hate this, or like it wasn't lasting, or the quality wasn't really good. And I was also getting more cognizant of the fact that people were being paid very little to make these clothes that I didn't even like, you know? So I decided to test myself. I've been doing it since, and yeah, I've just been kind of trying to continue to add to my wardrobe as opposed to looking at my wardrobe going, right, I need to get rid of all of this because that's not sustainable. You know what I mean? Sustainable is wearing the clothes you already have. So I do still have a few pieces from the high street that are still wearing well, that I still love. I wore a pair of trousers the weekend I got in the high street that go with everything. So yeah, I think 90% is a fair estimate.
Good going.
Yeah.
What advice for somebody out there who wants to be more sustainable but also wants to save a few bob? They're going into a vintage shop for the first kind of rumble through the rails. Yeah. What would you recommend? What should they grab? If they see a certain item, what would you say is, just grab it?
Okay, so I think, well, the easiest way to save your money is like what you actually want and what you actually need. Sometimes they can be two very different things. Go through your wardrobe first and be like, do your inventory. How many pairs of jeans do you have? How many coats do you have? Are there any gaps in your wardrobe that you need? Particularly, we're coming into like changing seasons and stuff like that. At the minute it's very hot, it's going to get cold. What are you going to be looking for and grabbing for? Once you've identified that, then I think you're in a better place to go into a shop and be like not distracted by extra or cool things that you might love and you might wear. Do you need it? Do you have 45 other kind of versions of it at home? You might do. I don't know. That's the first bit of advice anyway. I think the second bit of advice is kind of looking at the piece thoroughly and looking at the quality, like buttons, stitching, stuff like that. Materials as well. And this was a big area where I would fall down on my kind of secondhand sustainable journey. I wasn't great at washing the clothes, girls, and I was putting everything into the washing machine and was wrecking things and was like, why is this wrecked? Whatever. Understand your care labels. If you don't understand your care labels, a lot of phones now in the camera app can like analyse the care label for you so you can understand what temperature should I be using it on, etc., etc. Look at that when you're looking. And then I suppose it is price. The one thing I will say is, and it's a common complaint that I hear now, is the price of the charity shops gone to the dogs. Like the charity shops are having to respond to the demand, and obviously they're serving a purpose of trying to raise money for a charity. They're also trying to get rid of stock because we're seeing such an influx of people donating, which is great, but there's a little bit too much stuff, which kind of speaks to the wider issues around consumerism or whatever. Look at the price. Can you afford it? Do you want to spend the money on it? Is it worth that price tag? Maybe it's not. And then if you really love it, you can't stop thinking about it, but maybe the price is still kind of setting you on edge. Look elsewhere. See if you can find it elsewhere. Like Vinted seems to be this kind of, and I've started selling on it and I love it. If you want a bargain, you'll get it on Vinted. Like nobody is taking any prisoners there. Sellers, buyers, like you can get such a good, cheap bargain there. So if you see something in a charity shop or whatever, or in a vintage store and you're like, just have a search on the Vinteds or the Depops or the eBays and see if you can get it for a little bit more off.
Nice tip. I like it. I'm like that as well. You take a photo, Google image, and,
yes.
and off you go. It's only a couple of minutes. And you'll generally find stuff cheaper for sure. So on Instagram earlier today, you posted a story with a matcha tea.
Oh my God.
And you said, matcha! And you said, I am an accountant's worst nightmare. Is this true? Are you an accountant's worst nightmare?
Am I an accountant's worst nightmare? No, I don't think so, because people, I'm sure maybe one of your other questions is, are you a bigger spender than a saver? And I kind of think I'm both. And people will say, well, that's a bit of an oxymoron. I'm really good at like saving in like big amounts and knowing what I have to save and just having that away and not touching it. But I am a bit flahuluk then, girls. You know what I mean? I like a matcha. It's killing me now that the matchas are creeping into the €5-6 territories.
Yes.
Crazy, which is why I bought that matcha kit to make at home, and I still haven't really nailed it, and which is why I've still bought like 3 matches in between the time that I got the kit. Anyway, I digress. It's a bit of that. I like spending money. It's nice to have it. It's nice to get nice things. I'm a sucker for a sweet treat. You know what I mean? And I think there is an element of, because I'm not spending huge amounts on clothes anymore, I still spend decent money on clothing. I just don't do it as frequently. And I think, again, that's the key to anyone. I'm not telling you to shop all secondhand. It would be great if you could. That's not accessible advice to everyone, unfortunately. Just shop less. I think once you do that and you are shopping less, you find other areas where you start to spend the money then. So for me, it's like food and like the matchas and the sweet treats and the going out and like things for my friends and stuff. So
nice. Yeah. On that note though, is there anything that you would just never splurge on, even if you had money coming out of your ears? Is there anything that you just represents just clear bad value to you?
That I would oh, that's a great question. That I would never... that is a very good question.
Like, okay, let me throw some, like I don't know, a really bougie hotel, a BLT for like 30 quid. That's what something, you know, even if I was on the swankiest holiday of all time, I don't think I could cough up for that.
For a BLT?
Yeah.
Sandwich? Yeah.
I don't know, that's kind of that's where I'm at. But I don't know.
I'm trying to think, maybe this is where I learned that I don't really draw the line of things, because as much as I'm giving out with the €6 matcha, I still got it, girls, you know?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Do you know what? I am a killer for I actually have the perfect example for this story, just as we're like thinking it out loud. We recently went to Primavera, myself and my husband, and had a great time. Primavera, like a music festival in Barcelona, for anyone not familiar. The tickets can kind of depend when you buy them, if you've been before or whatever. Are they between 250 and 300 quid-ish? and we are getting married this year. We technically are already married, but we're having a second wedding. Cool. Maybe we'll come back to that, put a pin in that. I'm exposing too much of myself. But we obviously were like saving for that kind of diligently, so we didn't end up booking a lot of our Primavera stuff until, we'll say, after Christmas, and Primavera's in June, so usually you book it a bit before that, whatever, because like accommodation, flights, everything, the cost goes up. So we were looking at flights, and we said we'd do a connection to Barcelona to save a few bob. Now we did save a few bob, and we were like delighted on the way over. We stopped in, I can't remember where we stopped on the way over, but on the way back we stopped in Paris. We stopped in Charles de Gaulle, and we were corpses. We were weekend at Bernie'sing in Charles de Gaulle. I'm surprised the guards weren't called. and like everyone was like, was it worth it? Because it was, Cian actually timed it. Cian did the timer on his phone as to like door to door how long it took us, and it was like 8 hours. Yeah. Barcelona to Dublin. Was it worth it, girls? No. And we live also quite close to the airport. Spend the money on the flights, girls. That's all I'll say.
I would agree. And here's the other thing. I would say spend the money on the first row in Ryanair.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. Sometimes I'll be like, you're booking your Ryanair flight and it comes up to book your seat. You're like, oh, you won't get it from me. Like, I know what you're at. And you're like clicking the whole way through. Yeah. And then come the moment, like you get onto the flight. You've spent your money in Charlotte Tilbury. You bought a crappy sandwich for X amount of money. A stupid amount of bottle of, like you spend so much money, and then you get onto the flight, and for what, 20 quid, you have to walk past the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
Do you know? So now I'm getting better. Not all the time. I'm still kind of like trying to get the cheapest Ryanair flight possible, but now I will kind of cough up.
Well, that's the other thing as well. I won't spend money in the airport. Like I'm really like, this is, because I don't know, we get a thing. I see TikToks all the time of like, these are places where money isn't real.
Yes.
And the airport comes up a lot, and I fall into that trap, and I've recognised that in myself, and I'm going to go, the tea's not worth it. You know what I mean? Yeah. The match is not worth it. The food in there, not worth it. You are going to be in a foreign country in 3 hours, and you'll have the best food you've probably ever had, new cuisine. Relax. Yeah. Relax now.
So would you go as far as a packed lunch?
No. But I actually love people who do it, and I do admire that. Yeah. You're dead right. That's sustainable. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'm never going to criticise someone bring something in their lunchbox. Yeah. It comes up for me. But I'm not doing it. But I think that's laziness more than like me judging you about, or trying to scrimp the coins, you know?
Yeah. Tell me, can I ask about your upbringing?
Yes.
And how your parents talked to you about money and the lessons that they taught you?
So it was very much instilled that it's good to save money. It's good to have the money kind of squirreled away that you can use to get things that you want. Like I was a member of the Sammy Stamps saving scheme. I think it was. Was he Sammy Squirrel in Dublin, or there was a squirrel equivalent? Sammy Stamps he was a mascot, but his head was just like the credit union, and we're all holding this world up. Or I don't really understand the credit union.
This is ringing a bell now.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you'd go in. You'd buy a stamp for 50 cents, and you'd fill your booklet and whatever you'd have at the end of it. I don't actually know. 50 quid, maybe 100 quid. I don't know. And you'd fill that up once a week, and you get your 2 stamps one week, maybe you get 4. If you're really splashing out, I don't know, you get your 4 stamps. That was always very much instilled in me, that it was important to like have money. Well, not even have money, but to save money in case you ever needed it, for sure.
And that stayed with you?
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm very conscious of, making sure that I have money in case anything happens. It's probably, if we were to be in therapy about this now, which I'm aware we're not, there's probably a little bit of like financial anxiety around it. I think that speaks more wider anxiety as opposed to specifically financial anxiety. But yeah, I'm always like, okay, you need your, I know they call it running away money, but we should stop calling it that, shouldn't we? That's a bit, I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
Do we love that? Yeah, maybe we do. I don't know. Now I'm like, running away money. Yeah. Always important to have something in the back pocket, basically.
Yeah. For yourself. Yeah. No, I'm into it. But tell me, you spoke there about having this little bit of financial anxiety, and your partner. What's he like in that regard? Are you financially compatible?
Chalk and cheese, girls. Yeah. He is so I'm working for myself. I think I'm full-time work for myself 3 years this year. And he's the only reason that I'm able to, like, I've always obviously tracked what I'm earning and don't really track what I'm spending, to be honest. But anyway, kind of depending on if things are coming up. But he's the one who's kind of, he built out basically a document for me that was like, you know, this is everything that's coming in, you know, and it's an Excel that like works out like how much I need to put away for like my tax and how much I need to put away for like my VAT and stuff like the Excel just does that with the formula. And I was like, whoa. So he's basically the only reason that I'm sitting here and talking to you today and that I'm a functioning human being. He's very, very smart, a good saver as well. Maybe not as flahoolic as me, and I don't think he'd mind me saying that because I think he knows it's true. But is very, like, works very hard. Definitely knows the value of money and is like, right, we need to be prepared. He's very much like, be all of preparation is key, whereas I'm the one who can be a bit more like, whew. But I think you need that. I don't think you can be two Keans and I don't think you can be two Fionnualas, because I think chaos will inevitably follow. It might come quicker with two Fionnualas, but I think the chaos will come with two Keans as well.
I think every relationship could do it one Excel maker.
Yeah, no, truly, like.
Yeah, it's a nice. That's nicely compatible.
Yeah.
So you said we'd get to the wedding, but the time has come.
Yeah, perfect. Any excuse, girls.
Yeah. So tell me, where are you at?
So we did a legal ceremony in Dublin because I couldn't choose between Dublin and Cork, obviously. And I kept saying that to people. I was like, oh yeah, we're getting married later in the year. And they were like, oh, the destination wedding. I was like, well, yeah, West Cork is my destination and that's where we will be legally wed. If it's not legal if we're not getting married in Cork. So yeah, did we save money in some areas? Yeah, but we're probably tracking to be spending kind of what average people are spending now, because again, Dublin, while we didn't have as many people, we still did a nice dinner, we had a laugh, we wore nice things, you know.
Yeah.
And then Cork is the bigger party, and we're having about 170 people. And you should have seen me when we did the numbers initially, or the names initially, and I was like, 170, that's a nice, my little small wedding, my little teensy wedding, because I grew up in the age of there's 250, there's 300 people going to a wedding. You know what I mean? I used to work in hospitality, I used to work in housekeeping, and you'd go into the staff kitchen and you'd see, right, what weddings are on today, and you'd see the numbers for the summer, and they were all like huge, and that's what I consider to be huge numbers. And I was saying 170. I was like, that's tinchy, that's doty little wedding. Yeah. And then I was saying to people, and they were like, that's Fionnuala, that's not a small wedding. I was like, oh yeah. And then Cian was again also crunching the numbers. He was like, it's not a small wedding. I was like, yeah, you are dead right. You are dead right. When you're spending the money on people, that's when you realise the difference between big and small.
So where is it no expense spared, and where have you kind of pulled it back a bit to save a few quid in your budget?
Where is it no expense spared? Hair and makeup. Yes. I mean, I had very specific people that I wanted for Dublin and Cork.
Yeah.
And I got them and I was willing to pay for them. And because I work in, you know, Instagram, social media world, whatever, I feel like this, and it's something that I've posited to, like, you know, my audience as well or whatever, when prices come in and you go, the price of that, oh my God, then where are they getting the blah, 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 whatever. Yeah. And I used to be a beauty journalist as well, and I still really enjoy beauty and makeup or whatever. Like, that is a craft, and nobody sees the hours and the time that goes in to stuff like that. And look, if it's not a necessarily priority for you, I know a lot of people like to do their own makeup on their wedding day, etc., whatever, completely fine. For me, I knew the specific people that I wanted. I know the years that they've put into perfecting what they do. You know, makeup artists are up at the crack of dawn, sometimes travelling to get there, then making sure everyone's done on time. Like, there is a lot to it, and you can poo-poo it or whatever, but like, there is. So I was like, whatever price they tell me, I'm coming back and we're booking that. In terms of everything else, like, because we're having a big, not so big wedding, we were looking at like cost per head with dinners and meal options and stuff like that. So we looked at that as well. What else? I think with our, again, because I'm not really into fashion, but I kind of am, but I'm not. I wouldn't ever describe myself as a stylish person. I never wanted to be spending like thousands on a wedding dress. That seems, again, everyone, you know, I'm not here to yuck anyone's yums. You do it, but more often than not, if you're only wearing it for a day, I couldn't really justify that. So that's where we've pulled back money. And to be honest, even the same with Cian with his suits. I know we've gone and like priced a couple of things, and again, I will say, I know the quality is there. I totally get it. But if there's no guarantee that you're even going to rewear it, then it's a lot of money to be forking out. You know what I mean?
Big time, big time. Did you look for a vintage dress?
My dress in Dublin was vintage.
Okay.
So,
lovely.
yeah.
Where did that come from?
That came from a vintage seller over in the States. It was kind of a bit of a happy coincidence. I was in Australia at the time, and she does it in like drops. Most vintage sellers would do their clothing in drops because it's just easier and to manage whatever between sourcing and stuff like that. And I'd missed every single one of her other drops because of the time difference, because I don't know where exactly she's based in the States now, apologies. But I was on a bus coming from somewhere in Australia because I was travelling at the time and was going back to wherever I was kind of based out of. And I'd seen this dress and I'd kind of messaged her to say, because you can do, can you let me know when this dress goes on sale, whatever. So I'd done that. And the dress was on sale, and with shipping, it was like 300 quid, which again is still like, that's not necessarily a cheap dress by any means. I know people have gotten stuff for way cheaper. But it was 1980s. And I knew it fit me. That was the other thing, because with vintage, it can vary so wildly, but like the measurements. So I was like, that's kind of beautiful. Even if it doesn't kind of work in its existing form, I think I could do something with it. And it came, and it was too big, but I worked with an amazing alterations person. And
who was that? I'm sorry. I always have to get the name.
Sorry, the dress was from Mill Street Vintage. Mm-hmm. She's on Instagram. She has a website as well. And then Alterations was AL Bridal Couture. They're based out in Dundrum. She designs wedding dresses herself, I'm pretty sure, as well. But she's like the most recommended for Alterations. And I'm not surprised. Audra is completely incredible, and was also very much like, because my dress is very heavily embellished, if anyone's seen it. She was very much like, we can alter it to a point, but then beyond that, we don't want to ruin the dress, you know what I mean? So it was great to have her along the journey. But yeah, but I always said, because it's like, the big day, the capital T, capital B, capital D, big day. I was like, if I find a new wedding dress, respectfully, I'm going to buy that, because it's my wedding day, whatever. So my dress for Cork is new. So I'm having 2 dresses.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But I think I'll pass them on then at some stage to keep it circular and give people, whoever wants it, the joy that they want from my dresses, because I love that as well. It's really nice. And it's really nice to see people. I know people have been doing this for so long, but I feel like, it's only in recent years that we've really gone off the idea of you do only wear it for one day and everything like that. To see dresses being passed on, it kind of warms my cockles, to be honest.
I'm the same. I just have to know that things keep on going.
Yeah.
It's like it's getting proper value out of
Yeah.
something. You mentioned being a beauty journalist there. Was that your breaking in job into media?
Yeah, kind of. So I did journalism in DCU, and then I was kind of bopping around for a while. I was in radio, I was doing freelance kind of writing, and then I got a job in the Journal with their platform that no longer exists, unfortunately. It's called The Daily Edge, or was called The Daily Edge, and that was around a lot of, initially it was around kind of like Irish culture, popular culture, still celebrity culture, but with like an Irish kind of glint in our eye. And then towards the end of my time there, we were kind of redirecting it so that it was more women's interests. And at the time, because I grew up in like peak beauty YouTube, beauty guru era, like that was when I just graduated college and I loved it, was obsessed with it. And we were able to like chat about it a lot with work. And kind of through that, I started using Instagram to kind of promote my work, because this was kind of around when like stories started. So I was using Instagram to kind of promote my writing. And around the same time then, I'd started a podcast with my friend Breed called Bandwagons. And also at the same time, I'd started kind of also using the Instagram stories to talk about other things like reality TV, particularly Love Island.
Yes.
And I think that's when that's the real kind of big bang moment of, this is when these are going to catapult or trampoline.
Yeah. So you're an accidental influencer. Do you even like the term influencer, by the way?
I don't really care, but I understand why other people don't like it. And I would have described myself as an accidental journalist, or not accidental journalist, on purpose journalist, accidental influencer before. But I think if I was to be really honest with myself, I think because I was following a lot of influencers and seeing a lot of content creators, and again, I mentioned that kind of YouTube boom. I was looking at them and like they were the earliest iterations of influencers. Again, they probably wouldn't like to be called that because they were creating content and creating videos. But I was looking at them, particularly around their creation of like comedy videos and stuff. And I was looking at that and being like, I really want to do that. So many funny ideas. I love to be funny. I really want to do that. And again, I kind of half started doing that once I had an audience, and that's when kind of other things kind of started for me, you know? So like it was a kind of an accident, kind of, but I'm not sure I'm a full accident. I'm a half accident influencer, maybe.
Nice. I like your honesty.
Yeah.
So looking into that world, there's like a lot of freebies, a lot of like events, like lovely events and all the rest of it. But then there's the other side, do you know what I mean, where you actually make a living out of it? And I'm wondering, did they come to you? Do you go to them? How does that work?
In terms of brands?
Yeah.
So when I was first starting out, I didn't have an agency, and there were a couple of brands that came directly to me to work with me. And at the time I was, you know, you're very green and you see other people doing it, and it's a whole different ballgame, you know what I mean? And it's even like, it's an area that I don't want to be seen to be hypocritical, because obviously it's a playground that I am in and I earn money from, but I would love it to kind of also still not be my full-time job. It's interesting because as much as I've gone into this new media space, I'm kind of desperate to be more in the traditional media space, because it feels like it gives you a legitimacy that the new media space doesn't. But I use the new media space to kind of fund the old media space, you know what I mean? But that's not what you asked. Initially, the brands came to me, and then I worked with an agency. I still work with an agency where, you know, the brands usually will come to them and maybe they have a particular launch or whatever else. And then my agent will come back to me with a fee and a brief, and if it's something that kind of lines up with me. And then occasionally then, more infrequently now I will say, the brands will come directly to me, and I will put it back to the agent to kind of negotiate for me and stuff like that. So and look, as much as I'm still like, I'd love to kind of not be doing it full time. Yeah. Often that, like, it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of cool things I've gotten to be able to do, even with sustainability through content creation and influencing. Like, I got to go to the Citizens Assembly on biodiversity loss during the pandemic, and I got to go see them building the Port Tunnel Greenway, which is, I'm sure it's not called the Port Tunnel Greenway, apologies, but that got to see that initial being built. I look back at that and I'm like, that's so cool. Mm. That's so cool that I got to do that. And I think that's something that people wouldn't think of when you hear the word influencer. But there are other opportunities beyond selling. Now, that's not to say that I still partake in that, but it's a balancing act. I'm not sure I get it right all the time, but, you know, it's hard. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of things to consider, but I do love it. I suppose going back to my original point, it's like there's a lot of variety. I've gotten to do a lot of cool things. I've gotten to meet a lot of cool people. So
I often wonder how people like you do it, because you have so many different hats that you wear. Like, do you give a day to each of these kind of job titles? Like can you actually just jump in and out of everything in one day, or is it like Friday's podcast day and Thursday's presenting day?
It's very sporadic. So like I will say I'm very grateful to the kind of shows that I work with. I work with the 6 o'clock show. I've worked with them since pre the pandemic on pop culture slots and interviews and stuff like that, and I love that job. It's so much fun. I usually have a kind of set slot for that. It's usually Mondays. Sometimes it changes if guest schedules change. And then also I'm on News Talk most Fridays on Moves and Booze, which is a slot on the Moncrief show. And then otherwise it's kind of all to play for in between this. So beyond the kind of influencing as well, I do my own podcast called Flop Culture, which is a pop culture podcast looking at kind of failure within the world of pop culture and the arts. So like a bad quote unquote album, a movie that absolutely tanked in the box office. The example I always give is Waterworld with Kevin Costner, even though we actually haven't done an episode on that yet, but we will. So I do that as well, and I have a Patreon for that podcast, which basically means listeners can subscribe, they get bonus content, and there's kind of a lot more work involved in that. There's a lot of like episode scheduling, recording the episodes. We do a lot of TV rewatching. So at the minute we're doing a Gilmore Girls rewatch. That's a lot of, we do like 5 episodes at a time when we're reviewing. So that's like you're watching the 5 episodes, then you're setting up the time to record the episode, which usually takes 2 hours. It's a lot. To answer your question, how I do it, not really sure. The one thing I will say is a lot of like influencers and like media people can sometimes put put their foot in it when the conversation comes up around like trying to because it's hard because people don't take it seriously as a real job, which it is. I feel like you're losing that argument the minute you try to engage with a person like that. There's no point. But when they do try to engage and they try to lay out like how, you know, busy and whatever it is. Yes, it's busy, and like, yes, there are some elements of it that are, you know, like there's elements of all of our jobs that we don't like. Influencing isn't a hard job though. You know what I mean? Like in the sense that it's not manually intensive. And I think the benefits far outweigh the negatives. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's sometimes when I'm having a word with myself and I'm like, this is terrible, whatever, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, I can go back and get like any job. You know what I mean? And that's again where I think the traditional media stands to me. And that's where I worry about some of the newer influencers and content creators coming up, where they're kind of maybe only seeing this and they're tunnel vision on this and they're being sold this dream about making a lot of money and yada, yada, yada. I'm going to be the next Mr. Beast. Hope that for you. But at the same time, it's not guaranteed. You know what I mean? And then if you don't have that, and there's a lot of skills in content creation, but it's about knowing how you can transfer them to other jobs. So sometimes when I see the little baby influencers, I'm like, okay, but like just let's not to use Love Island parades, but let's not put all of our eggs in one basket. You know what I mean? Like
But would you go back to a 9-to-5 with the right offer?
With the right offer, I think I would. I think I would. Like I love the variety, and I literally just said, I love the way I was literally just like, don't listen to all the media people who complain about their jobs, whatever, me about to complain about my job. Like it's very hard. Like some of the days are long. And like whatever job you're doing, long days are long days. You know what I mean? It's not life or death with my job, but like, you know, there's some days where I'm like, I would just like to go to bed and like not have to deal with people. Also, you have to be on a lot of the time. Yeah. Even if you're kind of out and about, someone sees you, you're like, oh, and you could be having a terrible day separate to that person, and you maybe don't give them your 100%, and there's no guarantee then that person doesn't go off somewhere in a comment section going, what a wagon, I hate her. Yeah. And yeah, the public facing is a difficult aspect of it as well. And I think about like, you know, there's a kind of a quote unquote natural transition I feel for particularly women in an influencing space when they get pregnant, when and if they get pregnant, or they decide to go around the family planning route and they're having children, whatever. And their content can occasionally pivot to kids, baby stuff like that. Yeah. I don't have any interest in that. Again, I'm not here to yuck yums. I'm not here to wade into discourse on that, even though I do have opinions on it. I don't want my children online, and I don't know. And then I worry, you know, I hate to be like, I'm getting to a certain age, because I know I'm not. I'm trying to decenter age for my life. But I know there's a view of myself as a woman as well, as I'm getting older, that it's kind of like, well, what else is she going to be talking about? And she's too old to be talking about X, Y, Z. And like, I hate even giving credence to that argument, but I just know it's going to be made regardless. So there's all those kind of things turning in my head where I'm like, well, I don't want that to be where I go next. But so yeah. So again, very long-winded way to say it.
I know, I like all of it. There's so much to unpack there. Decentering of age, I love that.
Like I'd love, and I've made no bones about this, like I'd love a full-time TV job. I love TV. I adore TV. I don't believe that it's a dying medium. I think, and I know that from people who watch 6 o'clock show and who know me from 6 o'clock show and nothing else. And I think there will always be a place for terrestrial episodic television, and it's a great way to connect with audiences, especially live TV. I love live TV. It's so much fun. I'd love to do that, but again, just because I love and believe in terrestrial TV doesn't mean other people do. And I'm not an expert on it in terms of the behind the scenes cogs, making money with it, stuff like that. I know people are turning to social media and short form content and stuff like that. That's becoming the television of today. I don't know how you bridge that gap, unfortunately. But yeah, if I was offered something like that, I'd take that. But even again, then with the TV job, that's still not necessarily like you're not doing your 8 hours, you know what I mean? Yeah. Unless, I don't know, you're doing an 8-hour live stream every day talking about eggs, perhaps. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's what I'd like.
So you recently bought a home, recently-ish. Can you tell me about that process? Because you're on the younger side. It's tricky for people out there. How were you guys successful?
We were only successful because I worked two full-time jobs and because we were in a couple. And it's something that I've always been like really, really, really wanted to hammer home, because I don't know how many times you see stories in the papers where it's like, we were 18 and we just bought our first home, and then you read down the article and it's like, we started with a lump sum from my parents of 50,000. You know what I mean? Like I don't want people, like we are in a much better position than Honestly, probably everyone at this point, because the housing market is so just not functional. Yeah. I was, as I said, like, I didn't quit my job until, 2022. And so we didn't buy the house on my like influencer wage. We'll say I was combining the two wages, because not being like, that's, you don't need to be an accountant, girls. Like, that's just sensible. Keane was obviously working full time. I then had the influencing, the podcast, the anything else kind of emceeing bits to add in to kind of increase our allowance, we'll say. It was very stressful. It was we were coming out of COVID, we'll say. It was 2022. I'd been through a lot of kind of moving rentals in this. I don't have the number off the top of my head now, but there was a lot. And through the pandemic, which made it 100 times more stressful. And we were just getting to a point where I was like, right, I think we need to just kind of get off the pot, essentially. Like, we have the money, we're in a secure enough position, like, we love each other, thank God. So why don't we just do it now and start looking? And we did. And like, look, I will say, like, the looking process wasn't necessarily that difficult. I'm hearing from other people now, and it's just the stories, it's traumatic. My heart goes out to everyone who is still looking. But it was crazy going to viewings and, you know, being told it's a price, or going into any of those online portals and it be just going exponentially up, increasing by 100k, knowing the house was not worth 100k more than even the asking price. It was a lot. And then once we kind of had the house sorted, I was like, right, I'm quitting the job. I need to go. I need to just try this now. I need to try and be full-time freelance, because you're trying to balance a lot of things between the full-time job and the influencing, and not feeling like you can really commit to either thing fully. So I was like, right, I need to quit my job. Cian changed his job. At the time, I was I was covering on 6 o'clock show. I'd been covering for like the entire summer, while still working full-time at that job that I had currently, while trying to do everything else. We were living in Cian's parents. It was so hot in the summer. That summer was so hot for some reason. And we were just waiting for our solicitor to get back to us. I think we went sale agreed in May of whatever that year was. And then we didn't get the keys till the middle of September. It was, honestly, I'm so sorry to anyone who had to encounter me during those months, because I was probably like a banshee, but stressful. But the one thing I say to people is, if they're lucky enough to be able to buy a house and they do get it and they're in the process and their heads are melted, like, the minute you touch those walls, kind of, you forget about it. Like, I forget about it until you ask me about it, and I kind of relive it, and I'm like, huh. But I don't think about it on the day to day, because it's just like, oh my God. And I think about it every time I come through, even when the house is dirty, even when whatever, the things that don't matter, I'm like, this is ours, and I won't be asked to leave, and I can change what I want about it. And it's great. It's just such a huge relief.
Yeah. Tell me, any financial missteps or mistakes along the way? And I mean that from the mortgage all the way to the paint you chose. Anything that you'd advise people if they're in that process themselves now?
That's a good just shop around with contractors, and I would say try and get personal recommendations for contractors, because that always helps. I know we've had a couple of jobs done where, like, we paid a lot of money and then the work, it wasn't like total cowboy builder style, but for the money you're paying, especially considering you've already paid a lot of money to buy the house, it's not great to be kind of chasing up people to try and finish jobs when the money has already left your account, that way. The only other thing I will say is, again, and not to be on my soapbox, but with everything being so expensive, now is the time to be looking secondhand. You'd be surprised what people are getting rid of. One man's trash is another man's treasure. The things you can get to upcycle, even if you don't want to upcycle them, maybe you can pay someone to upcycle them and still save a few bob. That will save you in the long run as well. In terms of other missteps, I kind of think that's it, because we're only like 3 years into the house, and the minute we bought the house, everyone was like, "You're never done with the house, lol." That is absolutely true. Like, we've been very slow on the renovations process, even though our house was relatively new as well, so thankfully we haven't needed to do a huge amount to it. But maybe ask me again in like 3 years and I'll probably be like, wow, we got these tiles and they were hideous. But yeah
I have to go back to the second-hand furniture because I like a bit of that too.
Oh, stunning.
What platforms do you use?
I love adverts.
Adverts is a real hit. It's just like a real treasure trove.
Yeah, but
if you know how to search.
Yeah, you have to be looking. It's not. It could be more user friendly. I think adverts. Talk to me if you ever want to. But Facebook Marketplace is great as well. Like it depends if you're buying or selling. Like I like adverts for both, and then I think kind of Facebook Marketplace is good for both as well. I love it, but then we're really spoiled for like really good antique, second-handy, kind of, what do they call it? Not junkyards. There's a better expression for it.
Salvage yards,
yeah, exactly. We're kind of spoiled for choice, at least in Dublin with them. And they're always good for a pot around. You wouldn't kind of know what you'd find. And again, also a lot of like Vision Ireland have their second-hand furniture warehouse out in Cherry Orchard. And that's where we got our kitchen table and chairs. And
Did you?
Yeah, we got them out there. And we only recently changed them because we just kind of wanted a more modern style. And we sold on those tables and chairs. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, again, like I'm like a broken record, keeping it circular, guys. But you've no idea what people are looking for. Yeah. And someone might have exactly what you're looking for as well. So,
Can you give me a ballpark of what you bought them for and what you sold them for?
Oh no, we made a loss, girls.
Okay,
but still, we're not in for that though. You know what I mean? I'm not Alan Sugaring it out here. I'm just like get this table and chairs out of my house.
Yeah.
What did we? I can't remember what we bought them for. Maybe like 150, and do we sell them for 50?
That's maybe all right though.
It's fine. Like
you got to live with them. That's the way I see it.
We got to live with them. They came and took them away. I didn't bring them anywhere. Ideal. Yeah. Absolutely ideal.
Yeah. And Cian, what was he like with the Excel document during the home mortgage? Did he kind of go into overdrive or?
No, he was the best, and he is the best. He's just, honestly, we're very interesting in the sense that I really don't panic about things that I probably should be panicking about, whereas he panics about, in my opinion, things that I don't think he should be panicking about, which again, I think is why we make a good, like team or whatever, and we were able to kind of support each other through it. But he's very good at sometimes the maths was never my strong subject in school, needless to say, which is why I'm doing this job and I'm not an accountant. He's very good at working out what we'd need to save per month, whether it was for the mortgage or whether it's for the wedding now, and that kind of takes into account, some months I will get paid X, I don't know, we'll say €1,500. It's probably more than that, but €1,500. Some months it might be, honestly, €900. You know what I mean? So he's able to kind of adjust that as well to my earnings. And he's just a very sensible boy. We all need sensible men in our lives, Do the two of you have any shared financial goals for the next 5 or 10 years? Oh my God. Our honeymoon.
Go on.
We're going to go to Japan next year. Yeah.
Fabulous.
But I will say we haven't even, we just can't, I don't have headspace to think about it until the wedding is done. But again, the Excel is ready, I'd say. He just hasn't opened it or sent it to me yet. Yeah. In terms of what we need to be saving monthly, I should say. Beyond that, I think we love our house. I think eventually we would like to be closer to his parents. So I'd say that's on the horizon in 10 years. Maybe not 5 years, 10 years. And then beyond that, look, we'd like kids. It's not a guarantee for everyone. So we'll see, very much all in the lap of the gods. And beyond that, not really. Would love to win the Lotto, girls.
Yes.
Who is the Cork person who won the Euro Million? Would I have someone to buy a house in Cork? Because I think that's what we'd do as well. A nice little second home. But I just want to be having a laugh every day. You know what I mean? I just want to be having a laugh and not worrying. I want to eat nice food occasionally, you know what I mean? But I'm not really bothered about things. I want to be able to go out and have a nice meal once a month. I don't think that's unreasonable to ask. So I think if we just keep working away the way we are,
yeah, very reasonable.
Yeah,
very doable. Fionnuala Jones, I love chatting to you. It's so rare to interview someone who's so forthcoming and honest. So thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, that's frightening. Now I'm really worried to listen to this back.
I love chatting to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.